Liverpool transfer news, Ibrahima Konate to Real Madrid. Finalised in coming days. Liverpool are gearing up for their first pre-season friendly, away to Preston North End, this afternoon with a number of touching tributes set to be paid to Diogo Jota. The game should also provide Reds fans with a first look of new signings Jeremie Frimpong, Florian, Wirtz and Milos Kerkez following an early summer spending spree to equip Arne Slot with a squad capable of retaining their Premier League title. But, as ever, the transfer rumour mill continues to spin, and having spent £200 million on new signings, talk surrounds players who may up being sold to balance the books. Here are some of the rumours doing the rounds, and some of them may even hold a grain of truth. Konate to Madrid. Real Madrid have reached a comprehensive agreement with Ibrahima Konate, according to the Spanish outlet Fichajes, who add that they are set to pay £43 million in a deal that will be finalised in the coming days. The report adds that Konate meets the qualities Xabi Alonso considers essential to compete at the highest level, and the defender, who has a year left on his deal, is not considering any other alternative at this time. 2 + 2 was equaling 5 yesterday, with suggestions that Marc Guéhi is more likely to move away from Crystal Palace now they had been demoted to the Conference League because of a multi-club ownership issue. But there are also suggestions that Parma's Giovanni Leone and Wolfsburg's Konstantinos Kulierikis are being watched. According to a Substack blog by David Lynch, youngster Rio Ngumoha will sign his first professional contract with Liverpool following his 17th birthday next month, according to the Echo. The Reds pulled off a coup last summer when signing the highly rated teenager from Chelsea, and he made a senior debut in the FA Cup third-round win over Accrington Stanley in January despite still being on a scholarship deal. He has been tipped to feature again under Slot during pre-season. Real Madrid have no agreement in place on contract renewal of 25-year-old Real Madrid, and Vinicius Jr. have yet to reach a full agreement over a new contract. According to journalist Miguel Angel Diaz from COPE, despite recent talks and earlier hopes for a quick renewal, nothing has been signed or sealed or even agreed so far. One of the main reasons for the delay is believed to be a disagreement over wages. Sources say Vinicius' camp wants a pay rise that matches his status in world football. However, Real Madrid are not ready to meet all of those demands just yet. There were recent claims that Vinicius has a verbal agreement with the club to extend his deal until 2030, 3 years beyond his current contract. But until the paperwork is signed, that promise holds little value. Right after this supposed verbal agreement was reported, COPE made it clear that no formal renewal has been agreed upon. This has raised fresh doubts about when, or even if, the deal will go through. At this point, both sides remain calm, but the longer this drags on, the more questions will be asked. For now, Vinicius remains fully committed to the club, but the wait for a signed deal continues. 5-time Champions League winner confident Alonso will succeed at Real Madrid. He can build a winning team. Former Real Madrid forward Gareth Bale has shared his thoughts on life after retirement, Real Madrid's current situation, and his former teammate Xabi Alonso. In an interview with El Mundo, Bale opened up about his new role and his love for the game. Real Madrid remain interested in €50 million rated midfielder dubbed the new Cruz after a season that fell well short of expectations. Real Madrid are entering a phase of significant change, with both departures and arrivals on the horizon. Even though 3 signings have already been completed and a 4th player is set to join in Alvaro Carreras, manager Xabi Alonso continues to push for additions to the squadangelo still on the agenda. According to Sport, one of Alonso's main priorities this summer is to find a true midfield organizer to fill the void that Real Madrid have felt since Toni Kroos' retirement in 2024. And, the name that stands out as far as the Merengues technical staff is concerned, is Angelo Stiller. The VfB Stuttgart and Germany midfielder, dubbed the new Kroos by some, has been heavily linked with Los Blancos ever since it became clear that Alonso would become the new manager. However, the pursuit of a midfielder seemingly took a backseat, with Arda Güler getting moved to a new position in the center of the park to provide that missing creativity and guile. Even then, Alonso insists on a player of Stiller's profile, who can dictate play from the middle, something that the likes of Federico Valverde and Aurelien Tchouameni have been unable to do. Stiller could be the long-term replacement for Kroos at the Santiago Bernabeu, but signing him will not be easy. Despite the player's reported interest in joining Real Madrid, negotiations with Stuttgart could push the price to at least €50 million, similar to the Alvaro Carreras deal. There has been mention of interest in Alexis Mac Allister of Liverpool as well, but he will cost €100 million or even more, ruling him out of contention. As such, Stiller seems to be the most viable option for Real Madrid, and it will be interesting to see if the club are ready to fulfill Alonso's request. Former Real Madrid forward Gareth Bale has shared his thoughts on life after retirement, Real Madrid's current situation, and his former teammate Xabi Alonso. In an interview with El Mundo, Bale opened up about his new role and his love for the game. Real Madrid megastar feels uncomfortable on the right wing. Real Madrid's crushing 0-4 loss to Paris Saint-Germain in the FIFA Club World Cup semi-final has left plenty of questions hanging over Xabi Alonso's new project. In fact, according to a report from Miguel Angel Diaz on COPE, one of the biggest talking points is Vinicius Jr.'s role in that match. Alonso made a bold decision by starting Vinicius on the right wing instead of his usual position on the left. However, this move did not sit well with the Brazilian star. People close to Vinicius have shared that he feels uncomfortable playing on that side of the pitch. The Brazilian number 7 prefers the left, where he has spent most of his career, using his speed and skill to cut inside and create chance. Real Madrid's attack against PSG featured Kylian Mbappe, Gonzalo Garcia, and Vinicius, with Alonso placing Vinicius on the right to accommodate the new arrivals. Unfortunately, the experiment failed, and the whole team looked lost against the French champions. The defeat exposed the gap between Madrid's current level and that of Europe's top teams. Vinicius, whose contract renewal is in limbo, has also come under fire for his behavior on the bench during the match. After being substituted in the 65th minute for Brahim Diaz, cameras caught him laughing with Eduardo Camavinga in the 82nd minute. At the time, Real Madrid were already trailing 0-3. This image did not sit well with many fans, especially since Camavinga appeared serious while Vinicius was seen smiling. In 6 games at the Club World Cup, Vinicius has only managed to score once and assist once. These numbers are below expectations for a player wearing the famous number 7 shirt at Real Madrid. Now, all eyes are on Xabi Alonso. Once the players return from their holiday, it will be interesting to see how he plans to handle the situation. Former Real Madrid forward Gareth Bale has shared his thoughts on life after retirement, Real Madrid's current situation, and his former teammate Xabi Alonso. In an interview with El Mundo, Bale opened up about his new role and his love for the game. Real Madrid superstar has a verbal agreement over new contract €20 million annual salary. The future of Vinicius Jr. at Real Madrid has been quite perplexing to say the least. There were increasing doubts over his continuity at the Santiago Bernabeu after he was snubbed from Ballon d'Or gala. It was followed by reports of Saudi Arabia reiterating their interest in signing the attacker. Things remain uncertain even now as the Brazilian looks to make an impression heading into the new season. Vinicius has an agreement with Real Madrid. A recent report from us has offered some perspective on Vinicius' future, even suggesting that the forward is likely to renew his contract at Real Madrid. The report claims that Vinicius has a verbal agreement in place with the club to extend his current deal until 2030, 3 years more than his current contract, which runs until 2027. However, the extension has not yet been signed and it is perhaps needless to say that the agreement is worth less until Real Madrid get Vinicius to sign the contract. What's next for Vinicius Jr.? Photo by Francois Nel, Getty Images. The new deal is expected to make Vinicius the highest paid player in the team, even ahead of new signing Kylian Mbappe. When he renewed his contract in 2022, he signed a contract to earn €75 million over 5 seasons, until 2027. The new agreement would see him earn close to €20 million net annually. This is significantly more than Mbappe's current salary of around €15 million, which could prove to be detrimental for Real Madrid going forward. After all, Vinicius' form has been far from ideal since the start of last season, with the forward often losing the limelight to Mbappe, who has been the club's standout performer ever since he joined last summer. Keeping that in mind, Vinicius receiving a higher salary could create rifts in the dressing room between the two great attackers. However, nothing is signed as of now and it will be interesting to see whether or Real Madrid go through with the renewal plan for the Brazilian. Real Madrid reject £78 million Manchester United bid for 25-year-old Frenchman. Manchester United have always been on the lookout to rebuild a midfield that makes a difference. The departure of players like Christian Eriksen leaves gaps that are difficult to fill. Every summer brings rumors, names, hopes and dreams that inflate the spirits of the fans. Sometimes they materialize, sometimes they don't. The club seems determined to compete again with a squad that backs up the history. Big signings attract attention, sell shirts and fill bar debates. But behind every astronomical figure, there are questions about their appropriateness. In this article it's time to talk about Aurélien Tchouameni, a Frenchman who many consider key to any ambitious project. According to Spanish journalist Eduardo Inda, Real Madrid rejected a £78 million bid from United for Aurélien Tchouameni. The English club had been tracking the midfielder for some time, aware that his physicality and ability to work hard without the ball would suit the Premier League border L. Looking for a reliable pivot, capable of providing recovery and a clean outlet. The departure of Eriksen leaves a gap in terms of experience and quality, and Tchouameni was considered a guaranteed replacement. Inda's information confirms that Madrid have no intention of opening the door so easily, although the Frenchman has not been able to establish himself regularly in the playing 11. Meanwhile, the Red Devils have also been linked with a move for Casemiro. We see this gamble as a risky one. The 25-year-old defensive midfielder, despite his potential, has not managed to become undisputed at the Bernabeu. Paying £78 million for a player who is still looking for his place seems a desperate maneuver. United need a dominant profile, but one that is also suited to the intensity of their league. If Tchouameni failed to convince in Madrid, why should we think he will shine at Old Trafford? The club runs the risk of repeating old mistakes, paying a huge fee for a player with a big name but without th. Certainty of performing from day one. Many big-name signings have failed when the pressure has eaten away at their confidence. A different approach would be to go for talent that understands the English game and is hungry to grow. It would also open the door to homegrown players a less glamorous but functional alternatives. This type of news is always exciting because it seems that spending equals better competition, but this is not always the case. Sometimes it is better to look within, strengthen the structure and sign with a cool head. What surprises us the most is that the club repeats patterns of wasteful spending when they should learn from their own mistakes. The Premier League demands much more than a name. United, with their history, deserves less checkbook and more judgment. Ederson would be a much better alternative than Tchouaméni. Real Madrid have resumed their transfer business following the end of the involvement at the Club World Cup. Alvaro Carreras is set to make his long-awaited move from Benfica, but there is also expected to be players leaving the Santiago Bernabéu, one area that could be addressed in this regard in Xabi Alonso's attacking options. The emergence of Gonzalo Garcia means that there is now him, Kylian Mbappé and Endrick Felipe as out-and-out strikers, with Rodrigo Goes and Vinicius Jr. also capable of operating as a 9 when required. Because of this, it's expected that either Gonzalo or Endrick will leave, and recent reports have made it clear that the latter is the preferred option of Real Madrid. However, their efforts to secure a loan for him have now suffered a setback. As reported by Diario's, Endrick is not in favor of leaving Real Madrid this summer, as he believes in his ability to secure regular minutes at the Bernabéu during the 2025-26 campaign. He considers himself ready to embrace the challenge of competing with Gonzalo to be Mbappé's understudy. Endrick impressed in limited minutes last season. Real Madrid's ability to seek a loan for Endrick had already been affected by the 18-year-old suffering an injury against PSG earlier this week that is expected to keep him out for approximately 2 months. And this development could mean that the decision is made for him to stay, which could now push Gonzalo closer to the exit door. It would not be the worst decision for Real Madrid to count on Endrick next season, even if it means that his development does not move forward as much as desired. He did relatively well in his limited minutes during the 2024-25 campaign, with 7 goals scored across 37 appearances, 8 starts in all competitions.